各位新闻网的网友，大家好！今天很荣幸地邀请到克拉克县大都会警察局前副总警长 Undersheriff Kevin McMahill， 他将竞选今年的总警长的职位。通过今天的交流呢，希望大家华人社区呢对副总警长有一定的了解，并对国家的治安有一些了解和认识。Good morning, Undersheriff.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We'd like to take this opportunity. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So, Undersheriff, you have retired since 2020 after 3 decades serving for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department at every level. And now you are planning to run for 2022 Clark County Sheriff after Sheriff Joe Lombardo running for the governor. So, we would like to learn more about you and your future plan. Would you please introduce yourself to our audiences?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. Like you said, I worked 30 years in law enforcement. The last 6 years of as in that role, I was the undersheriff. What a lot of people don't know what an undersheriff is, but that's the top non-elected official at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. So I worked directly for Joe Lombardo. There was only one of me. Metro is a 6,000 person agency with a $1.3 billion budget. And I had the day-to-day operational responsibility for the entire police department. I feel like I know much of the AAPI community here. We've done a lot of things over the years. And so I do know a lot of people in the community, but I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself to those that don't know me. What I'd like to tell you about is, there are 3 people running for sheriff. But the truth is that nobody has the experience that I have to run this like I have in the past. And during the last 6 years, we had some very significant issues that affected the Las Vegas community. The first one was there was an incident up in Bunkerville, Nevada, up towards Mesquite, where the Bureau of Land Management had a standoff with a bunch of cowboys over cows. It was a very dangerous situation that day, and we were able to get out of there without a single person dying over a cow. After that, 2 people came down from that event to Las Vegas and assassinated 2 of my police officers while they were eating pizza at Cece's Pizza on Nellis Boulevard, and then they went next door to the Walmart and killed a civilian before our hero police officers went in there and took care of business, and I managed that incident as well. Then COVID hit, and we all know what happened in COVID, but one of the challenges that you have with COVID for the police department was, while most businesses got shut down and all of government got shut down, police, fire, and emergency medical and hospitals, they did not get to shut down. And so we've lost 5 police officers to COVID, 1 civilian, and it's a big leadership challenge to convince people to come to work while their friends are exposed and the challenges that they have with that. And I'm very proud of the way that we were able to lead through that. 1 October, I think everybody knows what happened at 1 October, but 58 people died that day, and 2 people have died subsequent to that. But what most people forget is that 422 other people were shot with an AR-15 bullet. And an AR-15 .223 round does terrible damage to the human body. And the fact that we were able to save 422 people that day is a real testament to the heroism of the first responders, the police and the fire and the people that were there that day. Our police were running through hails of bullets, and they saved a lot of lives that day, and I managed that incident that day, that evening, and for many days after. It profoundly impacted me for the rest of my life, probably. And then, of course, where in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a police officer kneeled on the neck of a man named George Floyd. The civil unrest spread across this country, and your police department handled that better than anybody, I think, in this country, any other city in this country. We protected people's First Amendment right to protest. They have that right when something, and they can come down and protest, but they do not have a right, the First Amendment right, to riot. And when they descended into rioting, we took action. And Sheriff Lombardo and I were both out there with our men and women, and we took action when they tried to burn the city down. They did burn 1 police car. There was a lot of business damage and graffiti. broken windows and those kind of things, but they did not take this town over. And so, that 6 years is an experience for me that there's nobody in this country that was tested the same way that we were. I spoke to the last 3 sheriffs, Sheriff Lombardo, Doug Gillespie, and Bill Young, and got a lot of advice and counsel so that I know that I can come in and be a great sheriff for our community.
Very confident about running for this sheriff.
Yeah.
Okay, so as the population of Clark County has increased, criminals from neighboring states have entered Las Vegas. So if you are elected, what would you do to keep the community in the safe position?
That's a good question. You're right, our population continues to increase, and while there are a lot of great people also moving here, there is certainly a criminal element that is moving here. Your police department is exceptionally good at going after the bad guys. Those that are out committing crimes against people in our community are going to remain the focus of our police department. We are going to go after them as much as we possibly can. I think the bigger challenge also, though, is today when we look at what is happening in communities, the police are arresting people over and over and over again, and the prosecution sometimes doesn't happen. Judges are letting people out. The sentences aren't being as imposed on people. And the world has changed a little bit. A lot of the misdemeanor crimes are not really ever prosecuted. And so we have to have real conversations about how it is that we're going to continue to fight crime here. Since I left, the homicide rate has gone up significantly. I know how to fight crime. 5 of the 6 years that I was the undersheriff, we went down in all Part 1 crimes, and we're going to get back to that. And we have to double down on developing authentic, genuine relationships in the communities that we serve so that we have a better understanding of what it is that various different communities want from their police department. And developing those relationships also leads to the beginning of the building of trust. And when we have trust within communities, they call us, they tell us, and that part of policing is really what makes our community so great.
My understanding is you engage people and authentically.
Yes, it makes a big difference, right? And there's so many different groups and of people that come from so many different countries. So as a police department, we really have to get away from the overarching label and really get into each one of those communities to determine what it is that you want from us and how we can be better at policing your particular community. I mean, think about just along this Spring Mountain corridor, right? You have a Chinatown, a Koreatown. I mean, just very different groups of people that come together. And I mean, besides great food, you have a lot of great people that own businesses over here, and we have a responsibility to all of them.
So traffic, DUI, and drug are increasing, which cause many fatal accidents and shooting. Can you talk about it?
The one thing that I will tell you that when I look at data, last year I think it was 148 people died in a fatal traffic accident and 135 died in a homicide. We have to remember that those are people. And those are people that were mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles. And whether you die in a fatality car wreck or you die in a homicide, your family will never be the same. I want to humanize those numbers. I don't want it just to be a number that we talk about. I want to talk about the stories behind those. We have to continue to focus on the things that cause those accidents the most. It's because we arrest them all the time. On the community policing part of it, I was very fortunate to have every rank at Metro, but one of the best ones I was the captain in West Las Vegas, Bolden Area Command. 1 year later, I was able to reduce crime by 40% in what, at that time, was identified as the worst area command in our city. And as we sit here today, it's actually one of the safest area commands. It's predominantly African-American part of town, and we've just done a remarkable job over there. And so we have to take the same types of approaches that we did in West Las Vegas and spread them out all across the city into each one of those area commands. But the point also is that we have 10 area commands, and they all serve very different geographic areas, very different cultural makeup in each one of those. And so what might work in Northeast Area Command, as an example, may not work over here in Chinatown. So we have to figure out who it is that lives there, what it is that they want, what kind of crime are they experiencing. We talk about Asian hate crime all of the time. And we see examples of that all across this country, and we've had a few examples of that here in Las Vegas as well. And that is very important to the people in Spring Valley area and Enterprise Area Command. And so we have to develop strategies in partnership with businesses and people to make sure that we continue to keep people safe in those neighborhoods.
My understanding is you care about the community, and for the crime rate went down for 40%. That has never happened in the Metro history.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it takes a lot of work. It's not just the police. It really is about getting people to come to the table. And the way that you get people to come to the table is you appeal to their heart. Because when you feel something, you want to do something about it. You don't want to just talk about it. You want to do something about it. And that's proven to be very, very successful to me.
We're all human, so we can feel each other.
Exactly, right? Yeah. We have to see each other's humanity first.
Yes. So, Undersheriff, your election campaign has started. Can you talk about your goal for Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department?
Well, Metro has a vision of being the safest community in America. When you set out and you give a vision, it's supposed to be something that, you strive for every single day. I want to make Metro also one of the most technologically advanced police departments in the country. I'm not a big technologist, but I know that technology can significantly help us in our crime fighting. We're working on not only shot spotter detection, but also things like drones that we can use in a variety of different corridors, expanding the cameras along Spring Mountain here, expanding the cameras that we have all over the city, and I think those kinds of things will be very beneficial to us. The other area that I'm particularly, there's actually two more areas that I want to tell you about, and one of those is that after 1 October and seeing so many people lose their lives, you talk about things like post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD and cumulative trauma on people. Law enforcement sees a lot of things that most normal people don't have to see. I want to create what I'm calling a wellness bureau at Metro, and work with the fire departments as well, and focus in on taking care of the heart, mind, body, and soul of our police officers. Introducing things like yoga and meditation and mental health checkups, because if we take care of our police officers in a way that we've never taken care of them, happy, healthy police officers will always take better care of the communities that we have the opportunity to serve. The other issue that we have when you talk about challenges around, as you remember, there were groups of people that were talking about defunding the police for a long time. And if you really know what defunding the police was about, is about mental health, addiction, and homelessness for the most part. Today, the jail that I run is called the Clark County Detention Center. And the Clark County Detention Center, pre-COVID, could house up to 4,100 people. The Clark County Detention Center is the largest mental health treatment center in the state of Nevada. It's the largest addiction treatment center in the state of Nevada. And it's the largest homeless shelter in the state of Nevada. We don't want homelessness sleeping out in front of our homes or in front of our businesses, but we also have to treat them in a humane way with dignity and respect, the same way that we do all people.
Yeah, we do. It's a bad idea to defund the police department, because we do need a police force to deal with all the things.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you are a graduate of the FBI's leadership in counterterrorism. So how would the police force handle massive shooting in Brooklyn subway if this happened in Las Vegas Strip?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to become elected as the president of the leadership in counterterrorism, and what that is that's the Five Eyes countries of Australia, New Zealand, the entirety of the UK, so England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, Canada, and the United States, and it's the top 500 professionals from all of the alphabet agencies like the FBI and CIA, as well as state and local law enforcement. And the intention behind that is to study terrorism incidents all around the world so that all the first responders can come together, take the lessons learned from those and implement those back in their own cities. Our response and the challenges that we have in our community today, we now have hockey, we have professional football. It sounds like we're probably going to get baseball here very soon, and potentially basketball. So, we're growing from what's kind of was a small city into a major metropolitan city that has, we can be a major sports town here very quickly. And it's Sin City. We sort of represent a lot of the things that they hate, and we are a target. And so we have been working with groups like that for a very long time, as well as our federal partners. And we are working today as we speak on building this reality-based training center that will, for the first time, allow police, fire, EMS, as well as the private security forces that are on the Las Vegas Strip to actually train together for the first time in a realistic environment, and testing and testing and testing and training so that we have the ability for a response. We have officers assigned out to Washington, D.C. that are working in the National Operations Center so that when incidents of terrorism occur in any place in the world, that we can go back and we can get the latest, greatest information and make sure that our community is safe. And we're going to keep this community safe.
If that's so proactive, it's more important than reactive.
Yes, ma'am.
So the number of ethnic Chinese in Las Vegas has increased rapidly. There have been many incidents of burglary and robbery, especially in Spring Valley, Summerlin, and Chinatown. So Chinese residents have experienced delay in reporting due to the language barrier or long waiting with the 311 language lines. Will you have any plans for increasing the number of bilingual officers, maintaining the security of Chinatown and those areas?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, one of the things that I'm appealing to everybody watching this is that we need to increase the diversity within our organization on all levels, because the more people that we hire that speak a variety of different languages, the better off we are and able to develop a relationship with people that maybe don't speak English. But also, these challenges in the Chinatown corridor, also we have a lot of reluctance to report crimes. It's very important for you to report crimes when you witness them or you're a victim of them. And I know that there's frustration with 311. The wait times are very, very long. But we have to make people, again, feel what it is that we're trying to talk about. And so, I really would like to expand that camera coverage that we have all the way along the Spring Mountain corridor, and make sure that we're really connecting and making those partnerships within the community so that there's a comfort level so that you're willing to report it, you're willing to have those conversations. And I personally can't think of a better way to do it than to actually have people that speak the same language. That's a big focus of what I want to do as we move forward.
Great, thank you. That's all I have today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
So I just want everybody to know that June 14th is the primary election date. The early voting starts in just a couple of weeks in mid-May, and so I can win my race if I get 50% plus one of the people that vote. So I really need your help, if you're willing, to please come out and make sure that that vote occurs in June so that I can take over as your next sheriff.
Our pleasure to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.